What's up, guys? Spin Firearms here, and today we're going to be comparing two of my favorite carry firearms, the Hellcat, which is second to my Glock 26, so this is definitely one of my favorite firearms, and one of the newcomers to my collection, the P365X, because I did take my original frame, and I got the X frame with the magwell, and this thing feels great. Now, I shot both of them at the range, and what someone pointed out to me was my recoil control was better with the Hellcat. Now, it's weird because before I went and looked back at it, I thought that the Hellcat was a bit snappier than the P365, even though I don't mind that snappiness. And someone mentioned that. I looked back and it was, and it did seem like this was a bit more snappy. Now, I would chalk that up to me not shooting this before that day. That was my first time shooting. I put like 200 rounds through it. And just not being used to the ergonomics in the trigger, but I love this thing. The Hellcat for me, though, is the ultimate everyday carry firearm. So if you're, into everyday carry and smaller firearms, the Hellcat is the way to go. You can add this 15-round mag, so there's no complaints when it comes to capacity. And on top of that, the trigger does get lighter over time. People say that it has a heavy trigger and stuff like that. My Hellcat has ate up about, 4,500 rounds or so, and the trigger has gotten better and better over time. I don't know if it's me getting used to it, but I've also heard other people say that it gets lighter as well. It does have a rail. It has frontward and rear serrations that aren't as good as the P365, but they are decent. I think they are better sights than the P365. I do like the U-notch rear with that front sight, but that's just an opinion, of course. And I just like the overall ergonomics and feel. I like how this part is a bit wider. Even though that they're very similar in width, how wide the firearm is this way, I think really helps when it comes to shooting. I will do a little comparison on the width. The width is going to be pretty much the same. Then the length of the slides, or I guess overall firearm. And they're both going to have 3-inch barrels. Now, this is a 12+1 setup right here. And what I will say this had better than the Hellcat is the texture. The texture is much better right out of the box than the Hellcat. So I did add the Edge Series grips to it. What I don't like about the P365 is this rail right here, because when I'm shooting and I have placement for my thumb, it just sort of slides and it feels weird. I mean, it doesn't slide that much while shooting it. I still shot it great, and we'll get into that, but it just feels weird having that openness there, and that's where I like the Hellcat, because when I'm grabbing onto the Hellcat, it has a little texture right there for your thumb as well. It's like a nice little memory pad that, reminds you, keep your thumb there and you can press in a little bit, and that can help fight recoil. Now, like I said, the front and rear serrations are better. This does come with awesome sights that are pretty similar. It's just the rear that's different. They're great night sights. They're super bright. But what I notice is those circles around there, they're like shiny. So like when I'm at the range and there's the light out, they seem to be a little shiny or glossy. I don't know what it is. It could just be my eyes or just me. But I did notice that. But overall, great sights still. The trigger is better on the P365. It is crisper. It's lighter. There is no trigger safety, which can be looked at as a positive or a negative. Depends on who you are. And that's just the facts. But I did shoot the Hellcat better, but I also have thousands of rounds to this. With this, I only have 200 rounds so far. So we'll see. But another thing that this firearm does better than the Hellcat is its module. I actually have 2 Wilson Combat frames coming in. And that is something that not a lot of other firearms can do. Being able to change out the frame and turn it into a completely different firearm, as I already have once. That is something that, a lot of companies should catch on to, because I think that is a big selling point for SIG that they don't get enough credit for. Now, I'm not going to go out and say that the P365 is my favorite shooting firearm, because it's not. But it's definitely noticeable when it comes to carrying that it's easier than the Hellcat. It's going to be easier than something like the CSX. It is just a small firearm, and it does its job. It's a great everyday carry firearm. Where I say the Hellcat beats most everyday carry firearms is this thing is reliable as can be. I've shot the worst of the worst ammo through this, the worst of the worst hollow points, and not a single hiccup. I've shot this while it's dirty. It goes on and on. I tried to get this thing to malfunction, and it just won't. I put tons of bad rounds, like 3 different brands of bad rounds, like during the pandemic, in this thing, steel ammo, everything, and it ran right through it, not a single hiccup. Also, I'm very fast with this firearm, and like I said, I do like the grip texture, the grip width better, and then the texture with the Edge Series grips obviously helps, but you're not going to get that right out of the box. What I would like to see the P365 would have been a wider handle, but that'll be fixed with the Wilson Combat Grip, is what I'm told. But it serves its purpose, and you can't go wrong with either of these two firearms. And honestly, I think if I haven't shot the Hellcat as much as I have, I might shoot these two equally. So there's really no going wrong when it comes to the two of these. They both have positives and negatives like every single firearm out there. You just have to choose what makes sense for you. Whereas I feel like the P365 you can do a lot more with when it comes to modularity and stuff like that. Whereas the Hellcat is just a beast and will never give you a problem with reliability. So that's my take on these two firearms. I love them both. Thanks for watching.